1, 2, 3. Do it. Oh.
Case on a deep drop, steps up in the pocket. He'll fire to the right side, caught by Diggs. Stay up! Oh, he got loose! Oh, my God! 30! No! 10! Touchdown! Are you kidding me? It's a Minneapolis
All right, coming back in for another edition of the Skoldiers podcast. I'm your host, Ed Brownmarkle. Joined with me remotely, Mike Anderson. How are we doing tonight, Mike?
Doing well.
Heard you bowled a nice last game here tonight in your bowling league.
Yeah, a little 258, a respectable 671 series. You know, it's only the third week of the season. When you take the last 5 or so months off from bowling, I got to be happy with that.
So did you end up tying?
Tying what?
Tying against the other team?
No, we ended up winning. I think we took 22 of 30 points. So
doesn't it feel so much better when you don't tie?
Yeah, it does. It feels good to win.
Yeah, it super does. So I think you can tell where I'm going with that. Our Minnesota Vikings tied the Green Bay Packers 29-29. I believe second time in like the last 6 meetings. It's like 8 meetings we've tied.
I think it's 6. I think you're right.
Is it 6?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that happened. So you were at the game. Kind of walk us through kind of what you experienced while you were at the game before we kind of break it down a bit more.
So first time to Lambeau, it was an awesome experience. Definitely a stadium just in the middle of nowhere. I was sitting at a residential neighborhood, and I looked across the street basically, and it was Lambeau Field. So when people, describe it that way, it is 100% true. But really awesome. There were a ton of Vikings fans, not only tailgating, but just tons of Vikings fans at the game. I was with a couple Packer fans, and I even said to them, I'm like, it's got to be close to 40% Vikings fans in here, and they didn't disagree with me. I mean, there was a ton of purple, and it was a fun atmosphere. I didn't experience anything, like you hear about in Philadelphia, and I know every fan base has those fans, but I had nothing but kind of friendly banter and quality football talk. It was really an awesome experience. I would recommend it. The only complaint I would have is, with it being an older stadium, you can't, there's no place to stand around and look down onto the field.
Sure.
So we talked about it at a preseason Vikings game, we just kind of lean against a bar edge and you can see the full field and whatever. There's not really any standing room type things like that. And I get from an old school standpoint, that's probably, it's not a big complaint, but
it's how they were built. So, you really can't. You can't really modify it after the fact.
No, and I know that. The only other thing would be, you hear the nightmares of the bench seating, and you're tight. You're very tight. I was with 4 people basically, and it's your elbow to elbow is putting it mildly. So I can only imagine when you're in full winter and everyone's out there in this thick winter gear. Like, I don't know how they fit everyone on those bench seats, but it sucked a little bit because it was 90 degrees on the field on Sunday. And it was warm, but awesome.
The rare September game, I think we haven't had one of those for like 14 years.
Yeah, no, awesome experience though. I will give the Green Bay fans some credit in that it was a really cool experience. Everyone was friendly. Tailgating was awesome. I would highly recommend checking it out. And like I said, you don't have to worry as long as you're not being over the top and being kind of that guy or that girl, whatever. You're gonna have, in my experience, you're gonna have a friendly football atmosphere, which I think is what most fans are looking for.
Yeah, and I think I'd mirror the same if Green Bay fans come into U.S. Bank Stadium. It's more of that. As long as you're not being a complete a-hole about stuff, you're gonna have friendly banter. It's Minnesota nice. We're gonna treat you well. We're obviously not going to love you at the end of the day, but,
Well, in a little bit that, and I guess maybe this leads into the game, it was awkward leaving the stadium. Like, it was dead silent for the most part, and no one, like,
usually you hear, like, chants, like, walking out, Yeah.
No one was saying anything. Like, we just all looked at each other. The only thing I will say, I actually hopped in and was involved in it. There was a lone Minnesota Viking fan in a Carlson jersey walking by himself out of the thing, and people were yelling some obscenities at him, and I might have hopped in and said a few things myself, but
to the good or defending the guy?
No, like, why the hell do you have a Carlson jersey on?
Yeah, that's a little bit of an awkward purchase, and then to go to Lambeau for that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll break down the game. Tied 29-29, multiple missed opportunities.
Yeah.
If you listen to our preview show, you would have heard that this is kind of what we thought would have to happen to have Green Bay have a chance. So we just start off with the bad that we got here. Blocked punt for a TD. Matt, why? Why are our special teams failing? I don't understand this. Like, that's the one crux that can derail this team.
So I actually, this happened right in front of me. I mean, I could have thrown a baseball and hit Josh Jackson as he caught the touchdown, or caught the block punt for a touchdown. And one thing I noticed is that I think it was Anthony Harris. We were about to snap the ball, and he came up to the long snapper and a couple other people there, and they were talking and communicating. And to me, that was just a red flag that you usually don't see that happen. At least I feel you don't see that happen all the time. Like, he had a sense of almost confusion and also urgency to it.
Sure.
And in my opinion, I think utilize the first half timeout. I mean, you're in a bad spot. You're in a short, the kicker the punter is going to feel a little flustered already. He's in the end zone kind of. And in hindsight, and I know it's hindsight, but maybe you take a time out there and just make sure that everyone's on the same page, because you could tell something was up. And it sounds like in the post game that they had a miscommunication that it ultimately allowed for the block, and it unfortunately deflected right to Josh Jackson, who made a hell of a play and caught it. But I mean, right out the gate, you jump to a 7-0 lead, which, you, as you kind of prefaced to, we said that really the only way we thought we saw this game to go Green Bay's way, or even to stay close, was that special teams, which is an area of weakness for our team, and we knew that special teams would have to be a factor. And ultimately, as we will get to here in this podcast, special teams ended up costing us around 16 points this game, which, you can't. The fact that we were able to overcome 16 points in special teams and still walk out of Lambeau Field with a tie, I think says something about the rest of this football team. But yeah, I mean, going back to that block punt, you can't have that. And I think we're lucky to come away with a tie, but I don't know, again, what it looked like from a TV standpoint or what they said on there. But what I heard at post game was it was miscommunication.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen a replay of it since, but it looked like there wasn't the block wasn't passed off correctly between that edge defender. So he slid to protect someone coming off the far edge, and he missed the guy that shot right in between, which blocked the punt. Another thing that was brought up to me is he ran into our kicker. Does that get nullified like as soon as he blocks?
I think as soon as the block, yeah.
So it's similar to the defenseless receiver thing, where if it's a tipped ball, that is now null and void.
Yep, I think, and I mean, no different. Like if you block a field goal attempt or whatever, I believe you can dive, and if you hit that ball, you can crash in. I think to. I mean, that's my understanding. I mean,
right.
Obviously something we could look up and verify, but I believe that is the case, yeah.
Sure. So, yeah, that was just brought to my attention, and I was like, that. There's a reason why they didn't call it, because they've looked at it. They had to have looked at it a couple times, so there's a reason why that wasn't dealt with. So yeah, bad start like you said, and then we suffered all day with that. And nothing we could do could get at Aaron Rodgers the entire game. I don't know what the heck was going on with that.
That offensive line. I mean, so my big takeaway is, if I look at both teams, the number one thing that stood out to me was Green Bay's offensive line and obviously tight ends and running backs. They did a hell of a job protecting Rodgers. The front four struggled to actually get to him and finish off plays. Even an immobile Rodgers, for the most part, had a couple times where he was able to roll out a little bit, and we just didn't. They did an unbelievable job, and that's kudos to them. That's credit to them. At the end of this podcast, much as a lot of our listeners probably don't want to hear, Green Bay took a step forward to me. They looked like a much better team than I had pegged them to be this year. And they're just probably going to get healthier from a Rodgers standpoint. They get Aaron Jones back at the running back, who's a much better runner than Jamal Williams. That defense is going to get better and better with those young cornerbacks. So, I mean, I know I jumped ahead a little bit there, but I took away, man, did they protect and they knew what our front four represented, but I mean, sometimes knowing something is coming doesn't mean that you can stop it. You know what I mean? And they did a really good job stopping that. And I don't know if they alluded to that on TV. I got to assume they did, because it seemed like they were doing a hell of a job.
In the Zim presser, he indicated that they were being questionably held a good portion of the game, which, I wouldn't put it past them to have that. Sometimes you get those calls. Sometimes they just let it play on both sides.
Yeah,
so it's hard to really gauge how that was going on both sides, back and forth. So to me, that's kind of a game flow thing. It's kind of okay. They're not calling that today. Fine, you just have to deal with it. I
didn't see too many that I thought were over the top, could have been called. I definitely saw a few on both sides where the review, and I'm like, that's definitely holding. But I think I saw enough on each side that
I felt balanced.
Yeah, I felt comfortable. I mean, we're going to get to the officiating, obviously, as all of you know here in a later point in this podcast. But yeah, I thought from at least the holding up kind of in the trenches, I don't know. It is what it is, for this game at least.
Sure. Rolling right along to the Minnesota offense. Running game still kind of not super present. Delvin exited with a hamstring issue late. Hopefully it won't be a big issue. He didn't practice today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I think tomorrow's going to be the crux day. If he's limited, he's probably going to be okay. If he's still out, I'd be more concerned a little bit longer term. But lack of the running game, I kind of read this personally as more of an offensive line issue. They're not getting a push up front. I don't know what you're seeing, if you're picking that on the running back or what.
I don't know. I'm concerned. That was another big takeaway for me. I thought Dalvin, if you listen to us, I thought Dalvin was going to go over 100. And I know, when you say late, and again, I was at the game, but I thought I even saw late second and into the third quarter where there were series where Dalvin was not in, and and you could see him on the sideline. And I thought, obviously, I'm at the game. I'm not able to hear what they're reporting or whatever, but sounded like it was maybe cramps or whatever. But Latavius got some serious, so I'm not so much worried about Dalvin, but I'm slightly concerned that if it is our offensive line and they didn't think they could establish their run against a team that had just yielded 5.5 a carry to Jordan Howard, we're about to experience some much worse defensive lines. You look at the Rams with Donald and Sue, and you look at Philadelphia and things like that. If we can't establish a running game, this team is going to run into bigger issues than they did on Sunday. So right now, I certainly have a yellow flag up, and I don't know. I went into this thinking we were going to run all over him, and again, it's harder when you're at the game. But why why did Dalvin only have 10 for 38? Why is there only 14 rushes between those two running backs? And I get you're down 20-13 late in the game, but I don't know. It felt off to me. The running game felt off to me. That's where I'm at. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me, hey, settle down. When you're watching on TV, we were down, whatever. But being there, I don't know. It felt weird.
Here's the thing that I look at, right? So Elflein was a full participant today in practice, which lends to the idea he's going to play Sunday. Which is good. That piece is going to be critical. Getting him back, he's able to pull a lot for the running game to help that out. Now, if we slide Jones out to left guard, and if Hill is still out, which I'm anticipating will be, and O'Neal will be starting at right tackle, you're looking at a completely different configuration of guys that might be able to trigger something more in the running game. And maybe at this point it might even be just a little bit of they need to be more confident in each other and where they're going to be, and facing a reeling Bills team might be just the medicine they need going into the Rams and Philadelphia game coming forward. So the hope is that if we get Elflein back and we stick with Remmers and he doesn't relinquish that starting job again back to Hill, you're going to be looking at that group of 5. Hopefully it stays healthy through the stretch run here, through the hard bit of our schedule.
Okay. I mean, I can, I guess a couple of things here. I've shifted from our podcast a couple of weeks ago where I said week 4 is when I saw Elflein coming back. I think I've shifted more. Let's get him some snaps this week. I don't know if you saw the highlights of the Rams this week, but my God, I am concerned about our offensive line against that front. But I mean, that's another podcast that we're going to record very soon. But the Rams look unreal. Now, that being said, I think we match up well against them in most areas, but their front defensive line against our offensive line is a major, major concern right now.
Okay. We'll flip in that corner real quick. Since you brought that up, let's see if I can bring up this page here. Where would you think Kirk Cousins ranked on quarterback rating when pressured?
Are we talking this year or just last week?
This year.
This year?
Last two weeks.
Oh, man. I mean, he's been unreal, right? He's only got 1 pick, and it was off a deflection. So, I mean, I'm going to assume, let's say, he wasn't pressured on that throw, I don't think. So, that tells me that he doesn't have any picks. I'm going to guess he's third.
Second, 131 rating. Behind Phillip Rivers, 136.5.
But okay, and again, we're jumping ahead to another podcast. I mean,
sure.
You're talking Marcus Peters. You're talking about cornerbacks that we haven't seen as well.
We're going to get into that, but I'm just saying that's one thing you put in your back pocket so far when he's under pressure. He's been fairly good, and if he is under distress, I think you can bank on him being able to deal with that in an effective manner. Yeah,
going back kind of to where Dalvin and running, I just think. From what I saw week 1, and I know the numbers weren't there from a rushing standpoint, but obviously we threw to Dalvin. He looked dynamic. I thought we would see a heavier dose of Dalvin Cook, and maybe it's because he got banged up a little bit, but man, when you get that guy into space with the ball, like it's just, I don't know. I thought we'd see a little bit more, and I know Thielen and Diggs did their thing. I mean, they had 21 for like 260 this week, so
right.
I'm assuming that's probably where we're going after this because, you talk – yeah, we couldn't get a running game going, but man, did they feast? Did they absolutely feast on the corners of Green Bay, which we said they would. You said Diggs was going for 180. He damn near got there. I mean, he had 9 for 130 and 2. He looked unreal. Thielen looked unreal. I mean, the throw from Cousins. Everyone that's listening, when I said preseason, right when we signed him, podcasting, I said this is a bold statement and it might bite me in the ass, but it might be, if it is true, I mean, no one's going to hear the end of it. I think Cousins is going to be equivalent to the Breeze signing in New Orleans, and I know it's only 2 games, but man, the throws that he's made in 2 games, he's made more throws than Case Keenum made all of last year.
Yeah.
From the throw, you know what I mean? Those throws. Yeah,
absolutely. The throws that make you go, wow, that's a throw.
He's got to have a handful of, probably close to a handful of them already through 2 games.
I heard a stat. I'm gonna forget the year. It's something like that catch or that throw to Diggs, that long TD, was the longest ball or in the air yardage that we've had on a pass since Dante Culpepper.
And so, obviously, I saw that one live. That throw didn't look that great. That looked like more Diggs making up for kind of a...
Right. But you got to understand that situation. Like, you barely see that it's open, and then you just kind of chuck it and let Diggs...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not going against you're just saying whatever, but, I mean, in terms of... I don't know. You're going to hear me talk about Cousins all year, but I just think... I mean, end of the day, if we just jump ahead, yes, the passing offense looked good, 35 for 48, 425 and 4. He
First
is
400 passer since like 20 years ago.
Kirk Cousins is the real deal. I cannot beat this into anyone's head anymore. He is the real deal.
Is it too early to extend him?
Not in my mind.
I'm right there with you, man. Everything I see from him so far has been impressive. Leading that late comeback, just the poise he had, and just, even after that interception, just going back out there and be like, all right, we got work to do. Let's go.
So let's take away the drops. Let's say that those drops are completions. It's...
It looks even better because I'm sure his adjusted completion rate is a lot higher because he had like 4 drops at Treadwell.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just... So now you're circling through the offense. I mean, Thielen and Diggs, obviously, there is zero worry now about the chemistry between Thielen. Thielen, 12 for 131 on the score. Diggs, 9 for 128 and 2. The throw to Thielen, one of the most beautiful pass and catch things.
So last year, game 1, I was wowed by what Sam Bradford did to that pass to Jarius Wright.
Yeah.
Like right behind the defender. This is the new wow. Like I don't even know how you put that in that mailbox. That's not even mailbox. That's a jar. You drop that into a jar.
And then at the end of let's go back to week 1 and his throw to Diggs for his 100th touch, or for Cousins' 100th touchdown. That first TD to Diggs on the left end zone. That was into a jar as well.
Yeah, just insane. So if your listeners out there and you're still concerned about Cousins, don't be. He can hit it when he needs it.
He's the real deal. We have a quarterback. We have a franchise quarterback.
Yes, prepare yourself for it because it's going to be here a while.
So I guess here's where I came out of this game. We talked about the offense a little bit. Actually, no, before I get to where I feel coming out of this game, let me talk about this. I think we need to pump the brakes on this defense a little bit, and I know you might not agree with me on this when I get there, but give me a second on this. I think we talk about this defense being so talented, right? They have so much, the front four, the linebackers, the secondary, the safeties, and they are talented everywhere. But I don't know if it's the play calling, if it's just schematics, I'm not sure. But through 2 games, this is not a Baltimore Ravens like, oh, you need 10 points to win a football game. I think we're still going to need to win football games 28-24 at times throughout this year. And yes, I'm sure our defense is going to go win us a couple football games this year, but I'm also, from what I've seen through 2 games, I'm not entirely confident that we can just depend on this defense to consistently be 17 or less. And I don't know if I'm concerned about that, but it's not something I expected coming into this year. And I know Barr hasn't looked great. I think Waynes has some growing to do here through a few games. We've got Mackenzie Alexander, we've got Hughes, we've got some things that are kind of moving and need to get better. Right. Obviously, the front four has looked dominant for the most part, and I think they were still dominant this week. It's just Green Bay did a lot of really good things to prevent, ultimately getting to Rodgers. They had a week to prep knowing for that front four. But I don't know. How do you feel about me saying that maybe while this is still probably a top 3 defense in the league, I don't know that you can start talking about them as one of the best of all time, certainly with the way they performed through 2 games.
I think you definitely hit it on the head. I think, like you said, the talent is probably one of the most talented groups I think anyone has assembled. But I'm right there with you. There's something seems off because you're going into a place where you know what Aaron Rodgers is going to be. You know he's going to be hobbled. You know he's going to be very limited in what he can do. You know the offense is going to try to prevent you from getting pressure on him, and yet you do not effectively adjust to lessen his impact. Like, that looked like an Aaron Rodgers that had both legs working. That's how effectively he dissected our defense. Now, that be said, we still held them to one touchdown, but we allowed them to get in field goal range 5 times.
Yeah.
So that to me is not a dominant defense that's stifling them and stopping them at the midpoint of the field and getting the ball back for your offense. That wasn't what was happening. So I'm right there with you. It's one of those things where I'd love it to be dominant. I'm not going to be a homer and call it one of those top 2 all-time defenses because I don't think we're there.
And you know what? And if people are like infuriated right now as you listen to this, that's fine. You can add me, you can do whatever. And honestly, I hope that I am wrong. I hope that in a few weeks this develops into what I think it can be because of the talent level.
Right.
But through 2 games, I think this defense could have won us the game Sunday without us missing a 35-yard field goal, which we haven't even necessarily touched on yet.
Yeah, with the talent we have, I completely agree. If you stop them on one of their field goal kicks there, now we're only down by 5 instead of down by 8.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we're driving for the lead and to be up by 2 or to be up by 3 in that point.
You know what? There are some strong tests to come, so we will see just what this defense and team are made of.
We will. Hopefully,
I guess
it won't be too bad, but you know what? We'll see.
Let's last thing before we kind of touch on just all. Here's what I'll say. So obviously, there's 2 things remaining that are kind of blatantly obvious we need to touch on. One being Carlson missing 3 kicks. I was at the game and I was at the post where I think he missed all of them. Maybe he missed one on one side, but for sure he missed 2 of them on my end.
Well, 2 of them on your end probably would have been the.
He missed overtime. The game. Yep. Both those were on mine. Was the other one on the other, going the other way?
Honestly, I forget. It very well could have been. It could have been on your side too. I forget.
So they didn't really replay it at all. So I had no clue like how bad he missed the first kick or whatever.
Wildly.
Right. But I had no clue on that, right? Yeah. So it's just, you're watching and the crowd's reacting, but there's so many Vikings fans, there's so many Packer fans, like you really had no clue till the officials did their deed. Here's what I'll say. I think if you're concerned about the Vikings wasting a 5th-round pick, chill out. We have drafted extremely well over the last few years. We've had some misses. We've had our Willie Beavers. We've traded up now for Carlson.
Right.
We also have a bunch of undrafted free agents on this football team. So I think when you start to move into that late in the draft, you've got to take some chances. And if this would have turned into a Vinatieri, and maybe he will, I hope that Daniel Carlson gets a job and figures it out. And honestly, part of me feels really bad for him because if this is any other team probably than the Minnesota Vikings in the situation they're in, this guy's still got a job this week.
Yep.
It's just we can't. We're lucky that we tied that.
Yeah, I've said this all week long. This team cannot afford to lose games like this. Cannot afford to not win games like this. Like, this tie could have massive implications down the line.
Oh yeah.
If we lose a seeding because of this, if we lose home field advantage because of this, because we don't get the same or one more wins than someone else.
We shouldn't lose home field realistically, right? But.
No, but okay. So if someone's coming in at 12-4, we end up with 11-4-1. We lose.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if it comes down to that this is huge.
And again, I'm probably at that point going to pin it. Most likely, I'm going to be able to pin it on one of the losses more than the tie. But
sure.
Anyways,
but the point is, we can't afford to be losing games in this manner or not winning games in this manner.
And so I think Carlson walked into an awesome opportunity, if you want to think of it that way, if you're an optimist. But ultimately, we couldn't afford it. And Bailey sitting out there, it's a perfect scenario. I think it was the right decision. Treadwell, we should almost have an entire podcast dedicated to, in my mind, because here's the thing. He has clearly improved leaps and bounds from route running and getting open and what he can do after the ball. But
absolutely. I
don't know what it is, if Cousins throws a little bit of a firmer football or what, but you need to hang on to that football. And I'm going to be honest with you, I hope that a Buffalo this week, we get a heavy dose of Treadwell. I've seen people on Twitter like, oh, bench him, don't play him for any of the game. It's like, no.
If there's any game you can take it, this game is it.
I hope Treadwell goes for 10 for 150 and 3 this week, and they throw the ball to him 15 times.
Get him some confidence.
Get him some confidence. I mean, that third receiver is going to be critical in big games down the road.
And we've seen him make catches.
And
we've seen him do it.
Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph, Cook are going to draw attention, and he is going to consistently be one-on-one against weaker corners, and I just if we can get the confidence up, that is going to be such a critical position at times down the year. Now, don't take that as like, oh, Treadwell is the key to our success. No, but guess what? There's going to be some really critical 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 10s, and guess what? You know where the ball might need to go? Treadwell. To a guy that can make a move and get open, and if he can just catch it. So,
yep.
I mean, ultimately, yeah. I mean, you probably want to speak on Treadwell. It's your boy at times.
At this point, I'm done fervently defending Treadwell. I still don't think he's a lost cause at this point. I think
I don't either.
He has too much talent to be in that scenario, but he has to get it together very quickly, because if he doesn't, he will not get a good second chance in this league. He's going to be resigned to some of these lower tier teams that need to take a flyer, and he's not going to get the support he needs from the running backs, the other wide receivers, from the quarterback to actually utilize what he can do.
Yeah.
So he's got to get it together, and he's not going away this year. We literally cannot cut him this year because of cap reasons.
No, you can't cut him.
If we cut him now, we take an extra $2.5 million cap hit. We cannot afford that this year. We're probably under $1 million right now after all the signings we just did. So
and you don't want to, and I don't think you want to cut him after
No.
It's one.
I don't think he's getting his 5th-year option.
No, not yet. But all right. So basically, I came out of this game. Here's what I'll say: we tied. We'll live. I think that at the end of the day, if you can come out of Lambeau with a tie or win, preferably win, obviously, but you come out of that with a tie, we still are undefeated. They have to come to US Bank. We're a very, very difficult football team to beat in that stadium. So I'm still confident we beat them there. We have a tiebreaker for whatever it may mean down the road. I pegged that as one of our more difficult games. I did have that pegged as a W. So my 13-3, I guess technically has now turned into 12-3-1. But at the end of the day, I took away that the Green Bay Packers are a better football team than I expected at this point in the season, especially with the hobbled Aaron Rodgers. I think that we will end up playing that team 3 times. I know that's a bold prediction, but I think I see a clash in the postseason, and that's kind of a side story. But man, they look for real. The corners look like, the corners are getting smarter, and they look like they know what's going on. And I'm just concerned that this isn't going to be a 2 to 3 year process for them, that they're going to be legitimate NFL defenders immediately. But Green Bay being better, defense, I think, for the Vikings needs to improve overall. And I know, don't take that the wrong way, but I think it can get better. I don't know if it's chemistry, schematics, whatever. It can get better. And then obviously we need to clean up special teams. I think they took a big step with Dan Bailey. They brought in and I guess additionally, they brought in a receiver to clean up that aspect of it. But special teams wise, I think Bailey cleans up a ton of it. They need to communicate better on the punt. We had a new punter come in, so I think that a lot of this is going to take care of itself over the course of the year, right? We're working through some things. It's week 2. To be out of here at 1-0-1, love it. But at the end of the day, yes, Bills, we're probably going to win. I don't know if we're going to cover the 17, but After that, we're at Rams in a short week and then at Philly. That should scare everyone.
Right. So yeah, just my wrap up on Green Bay. I expected to split with Green Bay. I didn't expect to split like this. This is a little bit different from what I expect.
Now you got to win. You got to win now.
Yeah,
so.
you got to win the next one against Green Bay. Like you said, we waived Coley, who was claimed by Giants, was he not? I believe.
I didn't see who he was claimed by.
I think he was claimed by the Giants. Signed in Aldrick Robinson, who actually played with Kirk Cousins for I think a year or two, so there's a little bit of familiarity there. And then we also waived David Perry to sign back Tom Johnson. All right.
Which is awesome. That's great for us.
Love that signing. I haven't seen the contract details yet, but I can't imagine it's for much. I think what he was paid in Seattle, I think the majority of that was already guaranteed. So I think he's already got a good chunk this year. He's just kind of like, okay, well, I'll just come here and play for at least another year, and we'll see what happens. One thing we did not touch on, the roughing the passer call at the end.
Yeah.
So I have some thoughts on this. For one, it's deliciously ironic that the rule that was put in place from Aaron Rodgers getting hurt is coming back to bite Green Bay so quickly.
Yeah.
Thought one. Thought two, that exact call that Clay Matthews was so upset about happened the exact same way to Eric Kendricks earlier in the game.
Yep.
So you really want to bitch about it? Well, you got one, and then we got one.
So.
And then third thing, final thought there.
All right.
If that call happens and it's a bad call, but you still let us drive 70-some-odd yards down for the touchdown and get the 2-point conversion, I'm sorry, you kind of failed yourself anyway.
I mean, I agree with you that you can't, if you're a true football fan of it, you know what I mean? If you're a Viking fan, you're an Eagle fan, you're a Packer fan, whatever, you're not going to pin this loss on that Clay Matthews call because of exactly what you're saying. There's still so much football that happened after that. You still had a chance to win it. Crosby had a 52-yarder, etc. You know, we didn't have to go down. You could have played defense, whatever. Here's what I'll say. I agree with you that it is a bit ironic that they're the reason, essentially, that this rule is in place. You know, if you guys want GD complain about your precious baby quarterback all the time, if this rule doesn't come into play.
Boniva, you know, and not have hollow bones.
Exactly. It's like, settle down a little bit because you are the reason that the rule is in place. So that with Kendricks, I thought both the fact that the NFL came out and said that, no, these were correct calls. I don't have a problem with it. And I think that, this is the new NFL. So I don't have an issue with the calls. It happened on both sides. I mean, part of me is screaming like, oh no, I feel bad for Clay Matthews, whatever. But no, that is a new rule. You cannot do that. And I get like, oh, where do you hit him? What do you do? Sorry. Maybe don't complain so much about a clean hit from Barr that ends up breaking Rodgers' fragile, collarbone. It's, right. I don't know. At the end of the day, there were some calls that normally you would not expect, but in this day and age, those are going to happen. And the fact that there was one on each side, I'm okay with it. And I don't even want to talk about it because it's just going to get people fired up. And you know what? It is what it is. If the NFL said it should have been correct and it was correct, I don't even think why are we even talking about it. It was the correct call. And we move on. We're on to Buffalo.
Where we're at. We're on to Buffalo. So, speaking of Buffalo, we are 17-point favorites against Buffalo.
Yeah.
Are you surprised at that?
All right. So we should have prefaced this with, hey, podcasters, are you ready for our shortest ever preview? Because this is not going to take long at all. I'm ready for Buffalo. A team that last year made the playoffs and actually, gave a ball game in the first round of the playoffs, but this year seemingly operating in shambles. I don't know what the best. I mean, you have LaShawn McCoy with domestic abuse allegations. Granted, sounds like actually maybe this is kind of he might get out of that, but either way, you had that coming into the season.
Still
and
a situation that's got to be dealt with.
Yep, and then you got rid of Tyrod Taylor. You drafted a rookie quarterback. Then you have Nathan Peterman, who I think has never not thrown an interception every 4 passes, who you decided, I mean, legitimately, you might want to stat check that. I'm pretty sure it's close. Who you decided was going to be the starter. So you roll him out. He goes like 4 for 20 with 4 picks week 1, and you get rolled 47-3. And then you roll into the next week. I think they switch over last week to the rookie to Allen.
I think officially started last week. Yes.
Okay, so you roll over to Allen. You have a player retire at halftime. You take away the play calling duties. McCoy gets hurt. I know we hear about NFL teams being in tough situations, but man, I think they're at a point where they need a cleanse. What I mean?
Absolutely.
Things need to happen. And honestly, it's a great opportunity for Allen to take over and be a leader and try to take over a really difficult situation. But when you look at a Vikings team that is going to be extremely hungry because they think they should have won a football game against an arch rival and came away with a tie, and now you're coming into a stadium with a rookie quarterback, if you're in a loser pool or winner pool, or you have to pick a winner, pick the Vikings. If you're a loser, pick the Bills, because this game, I know last week we were trying to figure out ways that Green Bay could win. I don't have a way that the Bills win this football game. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't even see it.
If the Bills win this football game, it will be an absolutely clown shoes game that I will never ever want to watch again. And I'm pretty sure that the Vikings will just burn the tape if the Bills somehow win.
If this is within 7 in the fourth quarter, you and I
would be livid if this is within 7.
I'm gonna be half a bottle of whiskey in if that's the case.
Well, I'll be at the game with a free bar, so I'll be probably 3 sheets to the wind at that point if that's where we're at.
It's just, here's what I'll say. I think Elflein to get some snaps would be good. I'd love to see Dalvin get rested. I'd love to see Diggs and Thielen get rest, because you know what? Not only for them gaining just a little bit of rest and this is a short week, people. We play the Rams on Thursday. The unanimous best team in the NFL right now in every single power ranking. Their defense has been hot. They've been posting 30 points a game. We have a very, very, very difficult game on the road on Thursday. So, yeah, give Diggs, Thielen, Cook, get all these guys. If they're in and we take a lead, give them rest. Let's see what Treadwell can do. Let's see Zylstra. Let's see, let's just get all these guys in, give them some reps.
Let's take no mercy here. Let's immediately go out there. Let's throw some bombs. Let's get up by 21-24, end of the first half. So we can just sit these guys, like you said, sit them, rest them, especially like Dalvin. I don't even think he should play right now.
I don't either.
Let him sit. Let him get that extra half week of healing in. Murray can take the load just fine. Get Elflein in there for some snaps. If you want to put him on a pitch count, fine. You can shuffle that a bit. If you want to just leave him in for chemistry, I don't think he's at risk of re-injuring anything, honestly.
No, but I think I would pitch count it.
But yeah, you probably want to ease him into that, honestly.
Yeah, I would pitch count it, I think. But
yeah, and same with that. Maybe even see Simeon or Slaughter in here towards the end of the game. Just put it away strong enough to where you can afford to do that.
Yep, and I'd love to see Hughes, McKenzie, Waynes. I'd love to see them get a little bit more run. I'd love to see Aloka. I'd love to see Sendejo. Get rest. Get some of the linebackers in. You know what I mean? And I know Gideon's playing a lot of snaps, but honestly, work a lot of these guys in. And it doesn't have to be. It's not like I'm saying it's a preseason game where the entire second half is all these guys you haven't heard of. No, work them in throughout your regular packages. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Get them in regular snaps and get them. you're going against ultimately what is a B squad or C squad NFL team. And I think, whatever, and this could, well, yeah, it's going to backfire ultimately when the Bills are ahead by 3 at half, whatever. If you want to be that guy, okay. But from what I've seen, this team will not have issues. It's a rookie quarter. I think the Bills are going to struggle.
We should win this game handily. I honestly predict a defensive
I think
score.
they'll cover.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But yeah,
we should cover. I think they'll cover.
We should not have a problem winning this football game. And if we can't win this with our twos getting significant time, what are we even bragging about with the roster at this point?
My biggest key to the game this week is to come out injury free. That's my number one hope.
Well, going into the stretch we have right after this, going into Bills and then following that with, I mean, arguably you get the 10-day rest, but going into those 2 hard games that are going to be very physical, I 100% agree with you. You want to come into that Rams game 100% injury-free with the rested players that you want to, roll out there and try to leave that game as intact as you can.
I mean, do you think there is actually, from back-to-back, do you think any team in the league has a more difficult, more physical back-to-back game set than at Rams, at Eagles, when you consider it's cross-country? It's got to be the toughest back-to-back in the NFL this entire season.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, I guess maybe if you had Jags, maybe if there's Jags, Rams, or something like that, but, I mean...
Yeah, definitely because they're both away games. That makes it super more difficult. If one of these was at home, it would be a completely different story. Honestly, Philadelphia should have been at home. I don't know why they gave us Philadelphia away and gave us New Orleans at home again for the 3rd straight year. I don't know why. Whatever, that's NFL scheduling. But yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. It's one of the hardest back-to-back weeks that someone has to play. The only boon that we get, like I said, is you get that 10-day rest in between. And maybe that's going to be critical to getting some guys back. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the Thursday night game? But we got to walk out of Buffalo 2-0-1, and then if we walk out 3-1-1, I think we're sitting pretty good in this first 5 weeks.
And I do too. And I mean, we knew that going in. We said that our record after the first 5 was going to be indicative of how strong of a team this is. And I think I'm okay with being 1-0-1. I feel like very strongly that it should be 2-0 and ultimately 3-0. But I'm excited. I'm diving into the Rams, and I know that you can't do that as a sport. But you know what? I'm not a part of the Vikings. I'm not a part of the Vikings radio network. So I'm already diving into Ram stuff because I'm just going to assume we're going to take care of business at home. So
absolutely. So
that's where I'm at.
Prediction for the score of the Buffalo at Minnesota football game.
I mean, we're at home, and I think they're going to throw up a good number early, and then I think they're going to bring in Slaughter. I think they want to get Slaughter some reps, so I'm going to go 48-17.
Oh, thrashing!
I wouldn't want to be. I don't see it. The Bills have shown absolutely nothing. The Bills don't even look like they had a guy retire at halftime.
I don't think we'll ever top that for the weirdest story of a retirement. Like, as long as we're alive, that's so awkward.
We're hanging a big number. I'm feeling a big number, even with reserves.
I'm feeling the same. I'm not quite that high. I had us at 42-13. And I think the 13 is only because they get a garbage time late.
You love the garbage time. You always predict the garbage time late.
I do, man. What can I say? I'm a sucker for garbage time. So I think that's what we're going to have there. The rest of our prediction segment, we have, let's see, we're doing the Green Bay game. So Green Bay at Washington. Green Bay is currently favored by 3 points. What are you putting on this game?
I'm strictly going to go off of what I saw last week, and I think Green Bay goes in and wins that football game. They looked like a really good team last week, and I will be, I told our resident Packer fan who still has yet to make it on the show, but I told him, I was talking to him today, and I said, I'm really curious to watch this football game because you have a Redskins team that is now 1-1, hosting a home game, and they're going to be really hungry because it's kind of it's a season altering win, I guess, if you will. Like, what direction are we going here? Are we this good of a football team to beat this Green Bay team or whatever? So I think they're going to get the best of the Redskins. And they're going to be coming down from a little bit of a high from the Vikings game. So maybe a little bit of a trap game, but I think I'm going to go with Green Bay to get it done.
I think I'm on the same kind of mindset there. You pointed out for the Vikings that this is a game that we felt we should have won, and we're hungry for a win because we should have won that game. I think Green Bay feels the exact same way. Whether that's warranted or not, that's kind of what happens when you have a tie, right? Both teams close. You're like, we should have won that game. There was a couple minor mistakes that led us to lose that game. So I think Green Bay, like you said, they come out hot. I think it's going to depend a little bit on Aaron Rodgers. It seems like there's a little bit more concern over that knee now. So if they can continue that great protection they gave him last week, I don't think they're going to have a problem with their offense. I don't think they're going to have a problem with that defense, so I think they should easily be able to handle what Washington can throw at them. I just don't think that Alex Smith is going to have enough to overcome them. Even the great Adrian Peterson is not going to have enough to overcome what Green Bay can throw. So what is your pick for a game that we're going to call?
I'm going with the best game of the week, I think.
What's that?
It's Thursday night, baby. Jets at Browns.
Oh, God. Who are you picking to win?
I'm going to go with 1-34 in their last 35. I'm taking the Browns to get off the schneid. They should be 2-0. I don't think they go to 0-3 when they should be 2-0. I got them winning a football game on Thursday night.
You know, you put that one up. We might mirror completely our picks this week because I really want to see Cleveland win. They've been so freaking close both these last 2 weeks. I think they're hungry for it. I think they finally get it done. They've played some really good football against some decent teams. They're right there. They just need to get over that hump, and then maybe they can get like 3 wins this year.
Unlock the beer coolers, baby.
That is going to be such an absolute shit show, man. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait for that.
I can't wait for your choice. I have so many games I hope you pick, and I'm curious to what you're choosing here.
I haven't even decided fully, so I'm just gonna. Monday night. Oh God. Can I do that one?
Fitz Magic, baby.
You know, I'm doing it. Pittsburgh or Tampa Bay? Who you got?
I'm going Fitzmagic. I can't pick against him right now. Tampa looks like one of the better teams in the NFL, and I'm not picking against it. Steelers are in shambles. Antonio Brown didn't report Monday. Le'Veon's probably still out. I mean, yeah, they put up a bunch of points against Kansas City, but I think Kansas City has one of the worst defenses in the league. Now, I think Kansas City has one of the best offenses in the league, which is probably a different podcast. But I got to stick with Tampa Bay. They're hot. I think I'm going Tampa at home. Give me Fitzmagic with another 400.
You know, I'm going to pick against it just because if I do that, I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to enjoy it more. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. They got to get a win here. They're not going to start 0-3. I don't think that team's capable.
Technically, they would be 0-2-1.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's right. But it feels like a lot, so we'll call it 0 wins. They're not going to go winless in the first 3 games of the season.
Fair enough.
As much as I already said that I don't think they're making the playoffs, I think that's a bit much for this team to fall. So I think they somehow put it together. They somehow are able to stop Fitzmagic, and Fitzmagic turns back into Fitztragic.
No, well,
throws 4 picks.
Okay, good luck.
We'll see what happens on that one, obviously. Any last notes here before we wrap up the Green Bay recap / Buffalo Bills preview?
No, I think health is the biggest thing for this week. If you're uncertain about the Vikes, I would say we definitely the Bailey signing is huge. I think the Tom Johnson signing is also huge.
Low key, pretty huge, yeah.
Yep, and I think that Treadwell is going to improve. So you don't need to tell me that you like Treadwell. Honestly, it's fine that you don't, but you're going to continue to see him operate, I think, as the third receiver for at least another game or two until he can. If he continues to just do what he did last game, all right, he's gone. But the guy has talent, and you know what?
Right.
Give him another shot. Let's see what he can do. That's where I'm at.
The same thing as you said, get out of this game healthy. Some of these signings, I don't think the impact is going to be immediate, but they're going to be shrewd signings, and hopefully Dan Bailey is much like a Kirk Cousins. He does very well for us this year. He ends up being our long-term solution at kicker. My last comment will be to Rick directly. If you're listening to this, I want you to understand this and hear this very clearly. Do not draft any more specialists. Ever. You never draft specialists. Ever. Ever. When's the last time we drafted a specialist in the Rick Spielman era that has worked out good?
Blair Walsh.
You calling that worked out good?
Oh, sorry. I heard just when's the last time we drafted a specialist.
Yeah, so therefore you can't really name a time when it's actually worked out well. So don't draft specialist. It doesn't work out well. Let the guy prove it. Let him be an unsigned free agent or undrafted free agent. Let him prove it elsewhere. Then you sign him in. That's the way it's always been done for good kickers. Just follow that formula.
Well, we got Bailey now, so I actually want the Bailey extension more than I want the Barr extension at this point.
Honestly, the different podcast, but I don't think the Barr extension is going to happen at all.
Well, I know. I don't either at this point, but
that's a different podcast. I think that'll do it for us today. Catch us next week for our Buffalo Bills recap, which will probably be our shortest recap ever, unless some ridiculous shenanigans go down.
But hey, that Rams preview is going to be a show you don't want to miss.
That is going to be a very explosive show. So stay tuned for that. That's coming soon. Also coming on the radar, we'll be looking at a little bit of the cap situation for next year, kind of seeing what's going on there. Some of these latest signings, what they mean. Going to break it down some of the terms that I see often confused on the Twitter machine, so we can kind of clear up any of those issues and kind of get all on the same page. Because I think the cap discussion is something everyone's capable of having. We just need to clear up some definitions so everyone's coming from the same sheet of music. But that's different podcast. That's next time. That's going to do it for this time. I'm at Namok7.
Muskie_Mike.
Skoldiers.com. We're on the Climb in the Pocket network. Take a listen. Shoot us a comment if you want. The audio is different than we usually have, so good, bad, or indifferent, let us know. See if this is functional for you guys. But yeah, it's going to do it for us. Skol Vikes.
All right. Skol.